people, real life.
Leeza Cooper.
Ryan.
How are you?
Fabulous.
Thank you for flying all the way out from Australia to see me. Actually, I think you live here.
Just for you, yeah.
So I read your bio and you're into a lot of things.
I know.
But first, a fellow podcaster.
I am.
And it's a family show, right?
Mm.
What's it called?
It's called the Hot Box Podcast.
The Hot Box Podcast. I like that. My terrible Australian accent. First of all, we'll put a link up for it. But what is the concept?
It was created as part of my overall plan, legacy, mission to empower women. So through Women of DV, health, wellness, fitness, everything's in one box.
Got it.
Yeah. So
that's a popular topic, empowering women out there. I like the idea that you put it all into one concept. Right. You're obviously not born in the United States. You got a beautiful accent. Where were you born?
I was born in Sydney, Australia.
Okay, in Sydney.
But I have travelled the world. I had very bohemian parents, and I've lived in England, I've lived in Ireland, and that's putting it nicely. So I would be picked up from school one day with my nomadic father, who was a Buddhist type person who called himself a healer. Parents were very eclectic, which leads me to my memoir and why I had to write that. Which also, I think of a tree when I think of myself. And you ask me these questions, and I think we've got the podcast over here, we've got the books over here, and people say to me all the time, "You're doing so many things. How do you do all these things?" And I said, "Well, they're all connected. So if you spend a year or two on one thing, and then you move to your podcast, they all complement each other." So going back to my childhood, I found my childhood roots. And going back there, through all the things that we're going to discuss of my life story, enabled me to work out how to navigate these situations. So all the spiritual things that I do, the healing, the grounding, the manifesting, the writing my books, it can look like a lot, but to me it's an art form, and I'm the artist, and it's one big canvas.
So you have these deep roots with this tree.
Yep.
It has these branches. And it's all you.
Right.
All one thing,
right.
All related. That's really important. I see people spread themselves thin in 20 different directions that aren't related.
Right.
I've been accused of that a couple of times.
Right. And I think that's why I've just responded to your question, because I think let's just nip this in the bud, so to speak, right now, and explain that I'm not off on a tangent. I'm not like doing too much. I am an energetic, I call myself hyperactive. That's probably not a nice word, but I think extremely passionate, and therefore everything that I do doesn't feel like work. It's fun.
Growing up, at what age did you start moving around?
Yeah, let's go back to that.
At a young age.
So from under the age of 6, maybe 8, I went to a Rudolf Steiner school.
Which is?
A completely different type of education, working in philosophies and teaching children about spiritualism. And I don't mean godly, I mean the spirits, the universe, the world around you. And I was focused on dance and agriculture and all things to do with not being forced into a certain stereotype of learning this, having this academic forum set out for you as a child, and you have to conform and do this and finish this at this time, and that did not work for me. It did not work for my parents. So the upbringing was a few different styles and types of schools. And that's what I love about my past life, when some people say to me, well, meaning my childhood, past life, we'll get there later, when they say to me, you know, how did you navigate being ripped out of this school, put into another school? I'm like, I am so grateful for the kind of experience that I had as a child and with my eclectic parents. And I didn't see a lot of things as a trauma, different way of looking at things from a creative.
Even at that age?
At that age.
That's unique.
There is a thing where I remember, and I have this conversation with people a lot, what is the age that you remember yourself back to? And a lot of people say, I remember from maybe 6 or 7, but I actually remember 2. from the age of being 2. Well, the party I had, the presents I got, who was in the room, or being in my pram and watching the ground run underneath the wheels of the pram, picking up feathers. So I have one book called Counting Feathers and Planting Seeds. That leads into the manifesting conversations.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. And so I learned very early in life, as strange as it is, and that's when we can start talking about our higher self and all these other powers that we have within us that most people are living in a lower consciousness, and they're not living up to their full potential because they are not connecting with their higher self, and that's a whole other conversation. But I remember looking at things that happened to me in my life and making and creating something really beautiful and good from it. And as life has progressed, whether it be through my traumatic house fire that I was in with my 4 kids when it was not proven that someone had burnt the house down, but it was extremely suspect, and that's in my memoir too. And so we escaped with just the clothes on our back, myself and my 4 children. And all of those kinds of things that have happened to me in my life, that leads me into something else. I've got to park that there for a minute. How do you turn something that looks so tragic into a gift? That's what I do.
That's incredible power to not victimize yourself, internalize, and say, okay, yeah, right now this sucks. How do I move on from it? A lot of people will take instances like that in their life, traumatic. I mean, house burns down, get your kids out safely, luckily, and then to say, oh, woe is me. You know, my life sucks. I can't get ahead. How come? Why did this happen to me? And then they carry that through their life. There is a period of grief and grieving on that, but this manifesting that you're talking about, is that a process that you went through in order to help yourself move on past that tragedy? Because the childhood sounds like it was pretty good.
For somebody else to look at my childhood, they would probably say not. For me,
well, most educators would. You can't keep moving the child from here to here to here.
That was the good part. So the bad part, as far as a counselor or a psychologist, and we talk about that later too, how I think a spiritual healer, no offense to mainstream, studies and university degrees and all the rest of it for healing women of DV and trauma, I have been more successful with the women that I've had that have been going for years and years continuously, paying all this money and going nowhere or going backwards. And so my methods of healing from, whether it be, well, it's from the heart, it's from a place of love, it's from a place of realizing things as big as saying you're not just you and your human vessel. You're a powerful spiritual human being who was created from stars and stardust, and you have way more going for you than just your physical body and how we are told we should interpret and feel about trauma. So my house burns down. My eldest boy stands there. Obviously, he's been raised by a spiritually intelligent woman. And he says, oh, well, we won't have to look at the photos of Dad in the hallway anymore. Now, this is a child who was 12 at the time. So I had 12, let's get this right, 12, 9, 8, and 6. So 3 boys, 1 girl. She was the youngest. And we lost, I think that was a $6 million home, all the contents, all the vehicles. We had Ferraris, Aston Martins, the horses, the dogs, bar one. And it was quite tragic. And I remember thinking to myself, when you don't listen to the universe and it's giving you all these little signs, all these little warnings that you're not where you're supposed to be, and they continue and they continue, and then there's synchronicities and there's things that keep occurring, and in your gut, if you listen to your gut, I should not be still with my husband. I was married for 15 years, with him for 17.
Oh, you had a practice husband.
I had on paper the perfect husband. And I had known him since he was, and I'm very mindful of how I speak too, because he's still the father of my children. And I did wait till my youngest was 18 years old, an adult, before I published my memoir. Right.
was smart.
So I don't specifically talk about them, same as when I was asked to be on TV and interviewed way back then. I said, no, thank you. I declined, which meant I did not get any financial help either.
Did you come from wealth, or was this wealth that you and your husband built up?
I came from more wealth than my husband. And so I was orphaned at 16. So I had that, let's go back to that. I had that nomadic lifestyle because there's a lot. There's a lot.
I'm not laughing out of humor, but out of shock.
Yeah.
So you were orphaned at 16.
Right.
What happened there?
Well, my mum passed away of a brain aneurysm at a Christmas function right in front of me. I shielded my sisters. They went to another room. I think mum lingered for, actually, she had died right then and there, but they keep them on life support. And I remember walking, it is in my memoir, and I remember walking up and down the hallway of the hospital with my 6-year-old sister in my arms thinking, how am I going to tell my little sister that she's not coming back? And where the heck is my father? So if we want to talk about the father, this is interesting too. And so we were talking about my life and my childhood.
I do, yeah. This is,
and all this is privy to how we handle our adult relationships and years and how emotionally educated we are. And I think I was enabled and assisted by my father to grow quicker and earlier from a younger age by his teaching methods. We can get back to that later. But it was my spiritual underpinning and sense of grounding and how my father had raised me that enabled me to I can't say I didn't cry, but I didn't cry much.
do you think this is because you at such a young age, you were educated into a greater understanding of what existence is?
100%.
So when seeing your mom die, that's traumatic.
Right.
However, did something in your brain said, hey, it's not the end, or it's not over?
Right. I understand death, and I also know it's none of our business. We don't choose it. We don't decide it. It's for God, the divine, the higher powers. We should not question it. And that's a tough thing to say and take on board. But I'm like, I can't say everything happens for a reason, because that sounds like it's undermining my mum's passing away. But I do trust the process. And so therefore I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to step up to the plate. And I never felt like I would have, begrudged that opportunity. See, opportunity.
Well, that's at 16, though. That's a tough pill to swallow.
I was 16 and I felt like I was 26.
Yeah, the way you're talking about it, you'd have to have a level of maturity that most 16-year-olds don't have.
But I think it's spiritual maturity. You can't have the life experience really at the age of 16, but if you've got some kind of role model or you're reading the right materials, and you remember I'm a writer and an author, and that is me at my core, which meant I was writing when I was 5 and 6, creating these stories. So I thought, if I can create these stories and be a writer, then why not write my life? So I went home. There is one thing I have to tell you, though, before I move forward into that, because it's quite pertinent. My mum had 2 men, so my mum was polygamous. So we had the spiritual father, who was my mum's husband, and we had my mum's boyfriend. Right. So my mum was a go-getting woman. She was Irish, and whatever she wanted. She was talented, sophisticated. You can't say that she was easy or trampy, if you want to say it. My mum was
this in Australia?
Very sophisticated. So my mum was Irish, my dad was English. They emigrated, ran away to Scotland at 16, got married and emigrated to Australia.
And then in Australia, was that the polygamy lifestyle?
Yeah, this gentleman picked up my mother on a beach. I have a more in-depth story. You have to read the memoir for that.
Oh, by the way, what is the name of the memoir?
It's called My Shotgun Wedding and a Horny Goat.
I love your creative mind. When you label stuff, you put some thought into it.
Park that, because I have to tell you why I came up with that.
I want to know why you
little
came up with that
thing there. But so raising my sister, I went home. So basically that meant that my father was still alive at the time, but he was the nomad, and I didn't feel like I had to forgive my father for taking off, my mum's husband. Even though mum said all us 3, the 3 sisters, were the boyfriends, a part of me felt the spiritual husband was my father. But I never did anything about it. I never looked into it. I'm like, I'm a spiritual being. I'm lucky to be here. I've arrived, and that's good enough for me. So I'll just learn off whoever I want to learn off and take on board, try things out and move from there. But I remember I went back to the house and I don't know if he's going to listen to this podcast or not, but my mum's boyfriend, whom I'm not, look, do I love? No, because I never got raised by him in the sense of my mum's husband. But he moved a younger woman in quite quickly, put a lock on my mum's door. I was kind of kicked out of the house. And written off by that family. They also didn't let me see my little sister. I had my sister initially. I was looking after her. So I went into my mum's room and before I was locked out. And I took some of her clothes and I dressed myself up to look like I was 25 or as old as I could possibly be. I went and got a modelling contract, modelling jobs, lied about my age. Back then we didn't have to show ID. Lied about my age and also went and got a position in a boutique, which I worked my way up for 6 years to become the manager of. And I remember when I turned 21, I told everyone that, in fact, I wasn't turning 25 or 26, I was turning 21. So I think being inventive, which is creative, not feeling sorry for yourself, trying to find an opportunity and some goodness in something that looks tragic. That really is my formula and my secret ability to be able to transform women's lives during, after DV.
One of the things that I always say is all these rules are set for us and we all try to follow these rules, but life's about breaking them. If you just follow the rules, you're going to live a mundane life.
Right.
I don't mean breaking the law or anything like that, but what I'm saying is they're telling you, look, that this happened to you at this age, so this, you go into professional counseling and they're going to drag that out as long as they possibly can, diagnose you with all sorts of things that either are your fault or not your fault, but basically internalize, victimize you. And it's like, well, okay, you got to break the rules. At some point, you got to say, no, I'm going to do it a different way.
Right. But imagine this. Imagine if you didn't, you're speaking that way. That's what you're saying. This is what I'm thinking in my head. What rules? I never had rules. I didn't have rules when I was a little kid. I didn't have rules when I was a teenager because I was on my own. I had no boss, no authoritarian. My parents didn't raise me with rules.
How did you define your path? Basically those rules for kids are designed, right?
Do we need rules?
I don't think we need a lot of them.
Do you think if we have the right things around us and the right tools and the right mentors and the right, books? I mean, my family were book crazy. So my house had so many books. They're on the stairs, they're on the walls. It warms my heart just to think about the books. We'd go to the book fair. I would be hunting for, all these little books as a little kid. And I think what I ingested and what I heard. And I also spent time traveling with my father. So I have had a completely different upbringing than a lot of people. I'm not the only one. There are other human beings out there that have had mine and they will be different to the rest of society. So I think if you've dragged off I shouldn't say dragged off because I happily went, but dragged off because my mum didn't know I was going or my dad just turned up and picked me up from school in the station wagon. Oh, where are we going? Oh, we're going to Queensland, road trip. All right, see your friends, never going to see you again. So living with the Hare Krishnas, going into a Buddhist monastery. I can name all the places. One's in Kenthurst down there in Sydney, Australia. The other one's out up Wiseman's Ferry, all these beautiful places. My father had historical homes. There's talk of ghosts. One of them, they're all beautiful homes you can find. The movies have been made there. And I had this childhood where I'm like walking barefoot. I live barefoot. I've got my shoes off now, right? I heavily believe in grounding. I think we need a different set of tools. And the toolkit in the hot box, and I'm not really promoting it, but the toolkit in the hot box is completely different to what a psychologist or psychologist would give you. And I did start studying psychology. And even when I wasn't, doing that, I was still reading everything that I possibly could to see how we're taught as mental health counsellors to educate, support, lead or have that client come up to their own conclusion as to how they can fix their situation. What a phooey. I won't swear now.
It's I've had a few guests that are from other countries and an American who lived a lot of times in Europe and grew up in Europe, France specifically, and America. And it's interesting, their worldview is so well-rounded versus growing up in a certain set of rules, in a certain society, a certain religion, a certain way to do things. And it's so narrow, and to talk with them is so much more fun because they have a much bigger perspective on humanity.
Exactly.
And on spirituality. And they tend to define their way, but not because they were told to, but because they were showed by example many different ways to do things, and then something manifested in them that gave them a path for their own life.
Well, what comes to mind for me is we find our way. We shouldn't be told our way.
Exactly.
Nobody's going to tell me my way.
It's when people do tell you your way that you live a miserable life.
Right.
You hear stories where my dad was an engineer, so now I'm an engineer. Or my dad is a doctor, he wants me to be a doctor.
Right.
You know, it's just basic, single-minded, driven for a single purpose that perhaps worked for the father, but doesn't necessarily work for the son or the daughter. You were shown multiple things. Your dad didn't say, hey, the Buddhist thing is the way to go. Hey, this...
well, he's saying, look at it.
That's what, right.
At least entertain it. At least
this exists
have
in
a
the
grasp of different types of reality. And also, we're multifaceted human beings. We really aren't regimented at our core. A spirit can't be, contained. So if our spirit can't be contained and we are our spirit and we're just using our body as a vessel, what do we want to do? What's our purpose? So back then, and we're getting back to that childhood thing of doing all that gift of being able to be creative and learn how to do things with integrity and think outside of the box and enjoy the experience and get to meet new people. I didn't feel like I'd been hard done by. I did lose my sister some years after that, back to my mum's boyfriend's family, then moved to New Zealand. And before they did stop me from seeing her for a little while. They thought I was someone I wasn't. I just think that's because they didn't understand my father.
Or a control
the
thing.
Husband. Oh, no, they didn't care.
No?
Nobody really in my whole entire life cared, but I don't sit here now going, oh, they don't care. I just remember being a really free spirit and maybe perhaps even before my dad's, raising of me, because he wasn't really raising me. He wasn't raising me like a father. He was raising me like a spiritual elder in some kind of tribe would raise all the children. It was not like a father-daughter relationship. So I've never had that nuclear family, and neither would I suit it. Right. So I did move on from that. And I continued to live my life for me and my purpose. And I married I did know a boy from when he was 14, 15. He was circling in my little group, studious, straight, bit boring,
predictable.
Definitely not predictable.
Oh.
I thought so, yes, but no. So after many, 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 many years of being chased down the road as a child in his car, come for a date, I think he wore me down. Yeah, I definitely think he wore me. And that could have been coming across as flattering. But I didn't need to get married. I didn't need to be with anyone. And I just thought, Yeah. Anyway, so he grew on me. And so we're back to that empire thing of building our empire, right? So I guess in my childhood years we were comfortable. There are times where I'm living with my father, we're not comfortable, but it didn't matter because it was uncomfortably comfortable. Living in a tent on the Daintree River with the crocodiles, wherever it was, to me it was comfortable. So it wasn't about materialism. So I can't answer the question in normal terms. And then we just moved forward in my life, and I thought I have to create a life and fashion something for myself that is fulfilling for me. And this man looked like he fit the bill, and we created an empire. So I supported him while he was doing his degrees. He did a law degree. He became a chartered accountant. I was working 2 jobs at the time. I was still doing modelling. I opened my own salon. I was doing nails. I was doing anything and everything I could in order to fill the kitty, to prepare for having children. I wanted a lot of children. little clan, little group, and we had 4. But there was something insidious going on in the background, and I'm good with my gut. And I think this is why I like to educate women. If you haven't experienced something, everything is a new experience, and you only know what you know. And you can't beat yourself up on having chosen the wrong person or not seen the sign. I've written books, how to read the signs, the red flags. But when you're in it, it's extremely difficult to recognize. And some men, and I would put him in the narcissistic category, I'd probably put him, and I'll be very careful how I say this, but for a period of time there, if I'm going to be really honest with you, I would put him in the sociopathic bracket. And that is in my memoir as well. But I think we can't beat ourselves up on having made a decision. Was it really a bad decision to have married my husband, for him to have had 4 affairs that I knew of and 2 at the same time, and women knocking on my front door, and the Arabs trying to threaten me with my life and kill me and my children, and us having to go into hiding and me buying a gun? Do I really have to fixate on that and say I'm stupid? I had no idea. I should have seen it coming. No, I have to.
How do you see all that coming?
You can't. And so you have to take the good from it, which sounds absolutely ridiculous. Wow. But the good from it is I wouldn't be sitting here where I am today. I wouldn't have written 9 books. I wouldn't have written a 5-book erotic thriller fiction series based on my ridiculous marital years. I won't swear today. Take the crap, right, and turn it into something wonderful, because we are master creators. And we can have something wonderful. So I don't sit too long in grief. I am still human to a certain extent. I think I'm more spiritual than I am human. And process it, write it down. Someone said to me, did you write your memoir for it to be cathartic and for you to heal and move forward? I said,
was going to ask you.
No. I specifically wrote that memoir because I made a promise to all women. I knew I was strong. And I still lost weight. I was still anorexic and tiny and skinny and weighed half of my normal weight. More because I was in shock and I had 4 kids to raise with 0 family in Australia. So it was hardcore. But I thought to myself, I'm not going to be a victim, but I never ever want any woman to go through this feeling, this navigating, this process with what we have to offer a woman, which was basically nothing. And it doesn't matter what part of the world you are, we're struggling trying to support women of DV. So in Australia, we're lacking services just like we are here. And I thought, this is not working. I don't want any woman to feel like I do. It's bad enough this has happened to me, but I don't want them to be struggling to feed their kids. I don't want them to have to stay because there's nowhere to go and they can't leave. I don't want them to be beaten because there's nobody to come and rescue them. So with that mission and that legacy in mind, I fashioned the whole of my life, back to the tree, to work all the individual areas that I can think of to empower women so that is not so difficult for them to navigate and get out of. Heaven forbid I try and help some women not to get into it, but who am I? I can't decide that's not your story. You are supposed to learn some things. It's impossible. Everyone's got their trauma and their drama in life. We're all learning, right? Some of us are hurting other people because we've got our own trauma and therefore we hurt somebody else. But if I put myself into my ex-husband's shoes and I say that, he's reacting because he's narcissistic, because he's sociopathic because of this. I'm not going to name his mum or his dad or any of those things.
His decisions, his choice.
His parents' decisions, their behaviours towards him, how he was raised. It's not my business. He is mentally affected and not okay, and it has nothing to do with me.
And that, you know what, that they people throw around the word empower women. You know, it's such a cliche, but it sounds like you're giving them tools to become powerful, in control of their own destiny, in control of how they respond to people, be able to recognize the situation, step out of the situation, and then hopefully maintain that power.
Right. Important to stop. You know, you can do all the breath work, 2 sharp breaths in, breathing out slowly. All of these things I already knew from my childhood, right, when I had to navigate things at school or what have you. So I'm thinking, give them the tools that they need to get through this period of time. What are they? They're not the mainstream tools. They're different kinds of tools. And if I had not had them work for me, then I wouldn't be suggesting them. I have to talk real talk. I have to be authentic. I remember when my husband had one of his affairs. They really need to be quiet down there. When my husband had one of his affairs, and I think it was his second one, and obviously I'm feeling really upset. I'm really sad, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do about this situation? I thought I'm going to do something that the mainstream counselling people tell me not to do. So they would be giving methods how to keep my husband happy, how to keep the marriage together and running along smoothly, and how to fix me or what I can do to me. Oh, heaven forbid, it really had nothing to do with me. I could be married to somebody else and been having an amazingly successful marriage. So I thought, right, I have to be really smart of how I'm going to deal with this. So this is when I became a completely different counsellor to all the other counsellors. All of the ones I know, I don't know anyone like me. So I went out and I bought my husband a really expensive Gucci suit. I packed his bag. I bought tickets to the Chris Isaak concert. I did everything to have this fabulous night out, despite the fact that I just found out that he was cheating. And I got him in the car, and then I didn't drive to the Chris Isaak concert, did I? No, I actually drove to his mistress's house, knocked on the front door, and said, hi there, I'm Darren's wife. And I said his name now, but you don't know his surname. And here you go, you can play with him for the weekend, but make sure you send him home on Monday morning to mow the lawns. So here I have a situation where I've turned an absolute nightmare around onto its axis. Is it ideal? Is it a perfect solution? In most people's eyes, no, it's not. But what it teaches women is how to get your power back, whether it be a man or a woman. If someone's having an affair and they're cheating, they're thinking they're getting away with it, it's all exciting, it's all illicit, it's like bringing up all the tingles. I'm like, no more tingles. She's, at the front door looking like a dog's biscuit, and the kids are all running around, and it's not a good environment. It's you don't know where she lives, but here you go. This is her life. This is what her life is really like, not the woman that comes to the office that's, got the high heels on and everything's perfect. Nobody's marriage, no one's relationship, no one's home life. Nothing's perfect. There's chores, there's things to do. Here you go. Welcome to what this really looks like. Now you're
here's real life.
Yeah. Your hot wife, I think I was 42 at the time, is now driving off in her Ferrari.
Oh, this just happened last year, huh?
Oh, no. No. Driving off in her beautiful Ferrari, which she bought herself, into the Sydney to go to this Chris Isaak concert without you. And I remember his jaw was like on the floor. He's thinking,
he took all the excitement out of it. That actually is pretty wise. Kind of makes
it was done and dusted. It was a home run. It was like, where is my wife going? Who's she going out with?
Why
What's
isn't she
doing?
pissed off at me?
So there is a way, and I teach women. It's like it's not normal. It's not the usual way you would do things, but there is a way to completely get your power back. It's not being vindictive. It's not being nasty. It's not even making a fool of yourself. And I have this saying: never make yourself look ugly because of somebody else's behavior. You're supposed to be a classy, stylish woman. That's who you were. That's who you were. But I was, and I'm thinking I'm not going to turn into a screaming banshee. I'm not going to beg. I'm not going to do any of those things. And even if I end up without you, I'm perfectly fine on my own. I think I was the secure one, and I think I intimidated my husband, and not on purpose, not in a egotistical way. I think I'm gorgeous. I think I'm better than you. It's just that you are immature and you have a lot to learn, and maybe this is a lesson for you. So you think
we also thought perhaps he could take, and you were somebody he could take advantage of, and you should have, no, actually.
I don't even know it's that. I think he just wanted more. There are greedy people, more and more. And even when these narcissists are getting more and they're trying to fill their bucket, a narcissist's bucket is never full.
Well, and it's not exciting for her either anymore. Oh,
well, this is why we see this happen to celebrities in Hollywood. The people that we admire and go, she's so gorgeous. How can that happen to her? Why is it happening to so many attractive, good-looking women who've got their own businesses and are making all this money? Is she stupid? What is it? First of all, we love our partners. We have family and children, so it's quite complicated, and we're trying to keep the relationship together. Nobody wants to forgive and forget an affair. I did the first one in the first year. I'm thinking, you immature little baby, but okay, how can we work with this? Like, I'm not going to be overly offended. It's not ideal. It's not good, but what is the problem? Let's talk. Let's communicate, and we can have a strong relationship for having gotten to what the actual issue is. But you can't, obviously, I couldn't do that with my past husband. But it does empower me to teach other women how to navigate these situations because mainstream counselling is not working.
How did that work on your husband? What happened after you did that?
Well, it kind of put me in the power seat as in, wow, my wife really is not, because I was a sure thing. And I love being a sure thing. But I had to become not a sure thing. And I wasn't doing it to keep my husband either. I was doing it for my own self-respect and everything else. So I wasn't playing games. There's a difference between doing it to play a game and doing certain things.
You were resolute
to
in
get a
what you were
certain
doing.
outcome. I didn't mind the outcome. All I cared was I had my power back, and I wasn't going to be treated like garbage by you. And you guys can have each other, right? I felt like I was showing. Heaven forbid my kids would know then. Don't think they knew that one. The later ones they did, because he would take them shopping or go to the movies with them and tell them, shh, don't tell mum. And he'd be sitting there at the movies with his kids or our kids. So it got progressively worse. But I didn't do it to keep my husband, and I didn't do it not to keep him. I did it to keep myself, right? So moving on in that whole entire situation, which enables me to educate women on what narcissism is, what sociopathic behaviour is. You do not have to go into a degree once you've had this I call it work experience, right?
That's
which
true.
it was. Also being highly spiritual. When a bully, I mean, there's physical abuse, financial and emotional. So I didn't have physical. In the end, I had financial, but it wasn't intentional financial. I don't really think so. It's just the way that he'd made things run. That's the way that it happened. But emotional was definitely there. You know, these kids, I don't want these kids. They ruin your lives. And I was called Thing. That was my nickname, Thing. But then a narcissist will go out and brag about their partner. Oh, they're amazing. They're gorgeous. They're stunning, and want no one to have you, right? So you have one set of rules, and they have another set of rules.
Oh, wow.
Right? And we can't break them. Heaven forbid we break any tiny little rule, and we're in big trouble, right? It's like World War III has blown up. So the silent narcissist, the quiet, shy, reserved person, a narcissist is not necessarily the highlight in the room. Like the gregarious.
That's what, when I think about it, that's what you think.
No. In fact, most of the time I found it's the quiet, timid little one that has got all the little underpinning of thing. And I'm not labeling everybody, of course. You'd have to have a big conversation to find out what they are.
when you hear the word narcissist, you think the big personality in the room.
So I chose well on paper, but in theory, definitely not. So take that experience and think, okay, well, what am I going to do now? So I ended up losing my holiday house, my business, all my buildings, a whole network portfolio of probably, I don't know, $20 million. I'm not sure. I lived in my holiday house in Sydney on a beautiful beach. This is interesting. Narcissists, remember the company you keep? The company you keep is really important. So the company that my husband was keeping obviously was not great. And then what happens is it snowballs. And if you're in that under that umbra with those people, things will happen to you too. So yes, I lost my house. Yes, I lost my holiday house. I lost things to the bank also because he was working at courts with them. I fought the bank by myself with a school friend who had become a lawyer for about 4 years till I was exhausted. And I remember having to sign a privacy clause to not speak, which I did. So I can say certain things, but not a lot. But whoever is spending time with that narcissist and sociopath, it becomes like a gentleman's club, and they'll all work together to get the best outcome for themselves. And after that, when they've all used and abused each other, they will all run away and leave each other anyway. So left my husband completely high and dry. One of those evenings, the evening we spoke about in particular, and another one were either an anniversary of something and then it was my 40th birthday. So on my 40th birthday, a similar incident happened, and I don't need to go through it. And I remember thinking and speaking to the heavens and thinking, I'm doing everything right. I'm looking after my children. I'm being a good mother and a good father. When does the karma come? And I handed it to the universe and I said, once again, it's not my business, but it honestly makes me really emotional. But if there is any higher power out there listening to me from my story, I'm going to put it in your hands and trust that you're going to make this work out for the best. I mean, my husband ended up going to prison, and it wasn't for my fraud. It wasn't for frauding me and signing all my signatures and stealing all my stuff. It was for others there were others. And I remember he was doing the whole suicidal thing and, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And that's heavy to talk about. In my memoir, I quote one of my friends who said he was standing there at the Gap, but he got a little bit cold and chilly, so he decided to change his mind. In other words, I don't think it was for real. I'm not to say I'm not him, but there was a lot of manipulation that went down.
That goes hand in hand with narcissists, doesn't it?
Yeah. I remember going to the hospital to see him. And there's certain things I've never spoken about before when he winked at me and said, don't worry, I've got them all fooled.
Oh, rather.
So I went through a lot, and it is in my memoir. I've given you a few little feedy, tidbits to.
Well, we got to make sure we get that out there
it's really
so people
important.
can see it.
And all the proceeds, by the way, go to Women at DV. It doesn't go to me. But take that whole entire story and make something good out of it, which ended up being my memoir. So I do start with the story of my wedding day, right, where there was a goat and there was a shotgun.
Is that a traditional thing?
It's weird.
Okay.
And then you look back and go, shit, why did I not see that flag?
A goat and a shotgun.
Yeah, but the memoir was important to me because I thought we have books written by psychiatrists, we have psychology books, we have the verbally abusive relationship. Oh, my God, I read them all. And I'm like, you're boring me to tears. Like, I can't even get through. I'm so traumatized. I can't even get through the first chapter of this. This is not helping me. I need an empowerment story. I read the Book of Now. I read all these manifesting books. I read everything I could, being a reader, to try and find the missing piece of what could help me. And I thought to myself, you know what? I don't want to just cry. I don't want to just feel sorry for myself. I want to laugh. Right?
Smart.
So the memoir is also funny. I can look back on some of my trauma with a completely different feeling and energy attached to it when it should, in fact, be trauma. And I look back at it and go, oh, that was funny what my son said as our house burnt down and we lost everything we owned except my diamond earrings in my ears. That's really funny that I had to live in a caravan for a couple of years while I re-educated myself and put the kids through private schooling, because that's where they were, and put one through a music degree, and the oldest one became a pilot, and then he's studying sports nutrition, and my kids are highly,
they're doing well,
functioning kids as well as they can in today's world. And I'm like, it wasn't about me. It was about, well, obviously it is to a certain extent for your health, look after you. I take that as a given, but my kids are not going to come out of this cheesed off, feeling hard done by, like they've lost an opportunity because one of their parents have let them down. Why can't mum rise up to the challenge and the opportunity and be both for those children? So that's exactly what I did. And the book is a way to not only empower women of DV and trauma, but the children of those parents. We can't forget the children of the parents of the trauma.
Yeah, sometimes they're the biggest victims of the whole thing.
Right.
And, well, especially if the parents handle it incorrectly.
And
not the kids don't see the strength. Well, I would say they mostly do. A lot of them will take it out on the kids. But you being an example of a strong woman going through it is a great example with the 3 girls. Yeah. Right, 3 girls?
Three
boys and 1 daughter. I apologize.
3 boys, yep.
But actually great example for the boys too. But and the daughter, especially saying, well, mom went through this. Yeah. Look at how strong mom is.
Well, the daughter was really young, so she was only 6. So if anything, she doesn't remember a lot. She just remembers being in a one-parent family. The eldest obviously remembers the most, and he was probably the one that suffered the most and had a bit of disdain for his father. I mean, you can't imagine 3 sons living that experience and seeing their mum go through that and having much respect for the father. No. So today they're now in contact with him. They see him every so often. He's never been a parent in the sense of being a parent, but I don't think they feel a massive sense of loss. Now they can have a conversation with them. I kind of guarded them. I had to keep them safe, obviously, from all the death threats and the garbage that was going on, but I had to wait to a certain stage in their life where they were mature enough and equipped enough with all the knowledge that I could give them on how to handle someone who was a narcissist, possibly a sociopath. Whether that is something that continued after me, I don't know. But you can't rely on your dad, unfortunately. And But there's an upside to that too. The upside is I had no one to rely on, so at least they had me.
Mm-hmm.
But you can have the tools and everything that you have in your toolkit to support yourself, to move forward in mind, body, spirit.
You've learned to rely on yourself, your decision making based on experiences and everything you went through growing up, and found the strength. And then with all this reading, created a very unique path forward to help yourself and other women.
Right. And there's one more thing that's really important. It's probably the most important thing. It's nature. Nature is your biggest supporter. Nature is your biggest healer. Grounding your feet, sitting in the sun, all the vitamin D, everything. I believe that, back to that spiritual thing again, all the oils, all the bush flower essences, all the healthy things that you can do for your body, getting away from all the electromagnetic fields. Right. So you need to be doing that for a big proportion of your day. And that is how I live. I'm lucky enough to be a writer. Well, I fashion that way, so I don't think it's lucky. But I think if 70% of my day is away from people, even though I'm a helper of people and a guide and a mentor, if I'm getting my fill from nature, I have a lot more to offer you in my 30% than if I was with you continually.
Like charging you up.
100%, yeah. So nature is my healer. It's my teacher. It's my healer. It's all of these things. So,
well, a couple of things that we talk about. And it's funny, you basically said it perfectly, but the only difference between you today and you in 5 years are the books you read or the information you learn and the people you meet.
Yeah, your mentors and your group.
Yeah, so...
Your clan.
Well, think about your life where you basically were introduced to all sorts of people, new people all the time with different experiences, different philosophies, different opinions. And then the books, you were talking about how they're stacked everywhere. It almost goes without saying that you are who you are today. Very well-rounded, but with your own ideas and now helping other people. The other thing we say is to have a great career or fulfilling life isn't necessarily about money. It's about serving people and helping others.
Right. But not for everyone.
I feel strongly, though, that if what you do in life benefits somebody else's life, whether it's in a career or just your daily life, it feeds back to you. It's like you being selfless actually is a selfish act. It actually, because it embodies you with feelings of, hey, I'm helping other people out. And you're out there helping all of these women out too, which is fantastic.
That's right. Well, you have to be open to that. So when we start talking about the narcissist, and I said to you, some people just can't. And so what I'm saying is I'm accepting of that. I'm not here to tell anyone what to do. I'm not here to change anyone. That is their life path. That's their decision. That's how they dropped in here. We are learning off them. As bad as it is, they're still a learning tool for us. Whether or not they change in the future or not, I don't know. But we haven't really touched on the manifesting thing, which is really important to me when you're recapping everything you're talking about here.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
When you are healing yourself and moving forward and you've got all your tools, you've got a good mentor, a good guide, possibly you've read my book, you've come out of this situation, you will see that a big component of my life is about manifesting. And that's working in a vibration of truth and trust and belief that is finite. So when I was in the caravan and I was studying creative writing and poetry and all the rest of it, not because I needed it really to learn, just because I had aha moments. I manifested myself my first mentor. So he was a college professor. I had no time to go to university really. I had all the 4 kids, and he would meet me for a couple of days every week and teach me everything that he knew. And mentors are the most amazing thing to have. The older generations, the one who've lived all these experiences, right? So to learn in his presence, and he was with me for 15 years. He became a business partner in my business, in my publishing house, and then we moved into film. And everyone that I've had in my life since childhood, but especially since that marriage, divorce experience that I had, everyone has come with a purpose, for a purpose, because I've asked them to.
Define manifesting. So what I understand it is it's something that you believe in your mind to make it a reality.
You believe in your whole body, spirit, soul.
So it's your entire person.
So you're a walking conduit for the reality that you're stepping into or have already, even better still, you've already stepped into. So if you imagine hypnosis, like I've done some hypnosis as well. I did that with leftover residue of PTSD. And I'm thinking if you can hypnotize yourself and put yourself into a mindset that this is and will be and you will have and it will happen, I think of myself in terms of stories, which I then wrote the stories. So the 5-book series I have, Model Redress. I was a model in the 1980s. I had model friends. I loved Sex and the City. I loved Charlie's Angels. I loved all that. My big picture, my mind is infinitely creative. I will look at anything and see anything, a person, a thing, an object, and to me, I'm creating from whatever it is, right? Imagine someone who has to have an object and think about how are you going to advertise this? That's how I look at life and that's how I look at things. What can I do from that? So I thought I'm going to write a 5-book series. I had no idea the plot, really. Right. And I just started talking about myself, my experiences, my model friends, and I knew that it had to have an underpinning of DV, trauma, some violence, but some positive aspects to it, and create this little group of women who really existed in real life, some I had not seen, and come to an ending that would turn it into a complete thriller, but entertain people on a series that came out of and came from DV, to show you what you can fashion, not only into a fiction book, but into real life. So as these books have progressed, so has my life run in parallel. So Model Redress, let's get it right, Model Redress, Model Magenta, Model Jade, Model Rose, and Model Undress. So we have Redress to Undress, redressing her life and what she has, and Model Undress, completely stark naked. I am who I am, and this is
That's
how it is.
That's a fantastic concept.
Right.
And this goes back to the manifestation. This is something you.
Well, if you're writing it down, and they say write a vision board, right? Well, I did one better than that. I write a whole bloody series. All these people in each one of these books then came to life. Oh. Every single person I needed in business, people in my relationships and personal life, people that I needed to assist me in that business. I've named them all. One had the same name. It's crazy. But I'm like, imagine sitting there and you're in your caravan and you're writing all these things, and people told me I was crazy. And I said, well, when I'm 50, I'm going to be standing in the Plaza Hotel in Manhattan, New York. Never been to America before. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I think I want to get out of Australia. I'm feeling America calling me. And in my career, when I went a long way back in Australia with public speaking, some hosting and my books and all the things that I've been doing, I knew America, and I'm glad we're talking about it now. I knew that would be where I would end up. Even as a child, I had a fascination for America, and I'm like, I'm going to be there because that's where I need to be to get to the end product, which will be Model Redress into film. Right. So I'm like, this is a fantastic series. I've also written it in a way that it can be translated to a TV series, everything I could think of. So 90,000 words to 110,000 words each book, 2 years to write each book, 10 years to write the series. Did it feel like 10 years? No, because I'm doing what it is that I want to do. In the process of doing that, I've got people that have been reading them off my website. I created my own publishing house. I'm hanging on to that baby for dear life while I be a executive producer on somebody else's film, learn script writing myself so that I won't be led astray. I will not be selling that to anybody else. I'm going to keep that baby. I'm happy to work with someone on it, but I'm like, it's such a good thing. I'm like manifesting. Don't tell everyone what you're manifesting either, by the way. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut a little bit because that loses the potency of the manifestation.
Well, I completely believe in it, but I don't call it manifestation. I do vision board and, planning and have goals, very traditional layout. But this sounds so much more powerful.
It has been powerful for me. It's been powerful for the women that have read these books so far. I'm super excited. That's the other thing. You have to be super excited. That vibration of being super excited. I can see it in your eyes. It's like I could do like a happy dance. Like I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I know that I am where I'm supposed to be. And there's no excuse not to be there. I said to you that I was in a caravan when I manifested having my 50th birthday in America, right? The universe has no idea of monetary value or how big a request is, right? So if you believe that that's what you deserve, and in a way you kind of have to deserve it. You have to be a good person. You have to be doing good things. You have to be, like a true humanitarian and activist. Yes, some people get things when they haven't done those things, but genuinely they're very unhappy and unfulfilled. That's the secret to having a lot of money. I said I can be happy with money and happy without money. And when I have a lot of money, and if I had even more money, I wouldn't know what to do with it. I wouldn't blow it and I wouldn't ruin it and I wouldn't end up depressed. And we see all of these celebrities and all of these people with all of this money and they're either drug addicts. Oh, my God, you've never seen me having drugs.
We were just talking about that exact same thing when I was driving over here to do the podcast.
Right.
The exact same thing. That all these celebrities that give everything handed to them.
Right.
And then they throw it all away.
Right. And not even being religious or saying they're going to church or whatever it is even saving them. It doesn't matter if you go to church. It doesn't matter if you say you believe in God. It doesn't matter all of that. You have to understand the essence of it and what it truly means to live within it and live from love, right? Living from your heart center and also being completely authentic. And I say, as I said before, with no shame. I'm not going to be ashamed of my story. I'm not going to be ashamed of my mistakes. You've been to prison. You've learnt lessons, not you, but anyone. Or whatever it is that has happened to you, drop the shame. You have an opportunity tomorrow to do something about it. Even my narcissistic ex, who knows? Maybe next year he completely change himself and have a lovely relationship. I hope he can. I hope he does. Have the best at heart of everyone. And the other saying I say is always leave a person feeling better off for having met you than before they met you.
That's a great way to do it. And the podcast, we have plenty of stories that depict exactly that. Right. People that have made that decision, put the vision board up or manifest as and they changed their life. They changed the trajectory of their life. Right. Where can everybody find all your stuff?
Well, I did mention to you that I've moved countries now, so I'm here to live for, who knows, 5 to 6 years or something. What a great manifestation that was from the caravan.
That is pretty great.
Right. I have to say I don't know if I said this. I have to say living in gratitude is at the core of receiving anything. And when you're living in your true, authentic vibration in gratitude, you will meet wonderful people. You will repel. And I found this out. Your aura will be so bright, you'll be so shining so brightly that you will probably repel and repulse the wrong people, right? And so the vibration I'm in, I haven't gone wrong for a lot. Not that there's anything wrong with wrong, that's a learning lesson, but I'm managing to attract my desires and everything. So it is the vision board and it is writing it down, but it is also living in gratitude and trusting the process. If you can be writing it down and doing everything, but the person is not grasping the concept of living in gratitude, living from love and being love in everything that you do every day. Right. So everything that I do is immersed in love. And we didn't talk about me winning Miss Australia, by the way, in 2023.
Well, did you manifest this?
100%.
Okay. So We'll go back a little bit about where you had gotten to modeling, but you were doing, I think you working at a boutique, modeling. Right. You even started doing nails at some point.
Oh, I was doing everything.
You lied about your age.
Oh, it's a fantastic business. I used to make so much money doing that, and then I handed it over to somebody else. Well, somebody else was working it for me. Modeling
was
fun.
But boy, is that competitive.
Okay, I handled modeling really, really well, and it is in my memoir. I'm not that tall, tall enough. But I got stuck with the bridle. I was a swimwear girl because I was muscly and super fit. So I got all the beachy stuff. But the difference between me modeling and everyone else was because I had the spiritual grounding and everything else. And there is an occasion that I got myself into a bit of a situation. It is in my memoir because every girl in modeling, especially in the 80s and 90s, ends up in a predicament and a situation. And it wasn't great, but I did write about it. And I also write how to navigate out of that.
Excellent.
And deal with that, right?
It could be a dirty business.
It was interesting, but I didn't hang out with the models. I had a few model friends who were modeling around the world. One of them was abducted off the runway and sent overseas to have an arranged marriage and disappeared. So that is one of those books. But I hung out with the photographers. I wanted to know how they were taking the picture. I do take photography myself, so I have a photography page. if you're arty, you're arty, right? I hung out with the photographers. I'd carry the equipment.
Smart.
I'd listen to their conversations, their world travels. I made friends with some. I became the muse of one. Oh, gosh, can I recall his name? I don't know. He's quite famous. And my whole family started off with me, and then I met my husband, and then he started photographing me, my husband, and all my children when they came along, and that whole exhibition went to New York. And my whole hallway at home was photographs on silver gelatin, which lasts forever for future families, very expensive, all got burnt. But the whole hallway, there was a photo on the internet of me standing there with my baby daughter and all the photos of our family. So I did introduce my family to my world and make them a part of it in the hope that we could have this white picket fence happily ever after. And it's not the world that I didn't have it. For a period of time, I did have it. Find the joy. I found the joy when my husband wasn't home. Just because someone's a sociopath and a narcissist and they're doing something wrong doesn't mean you have to be consumed in it all day long. The lavender in the backyard, watching the kids swim in the pool. I will disassociate from you when you're not home, and I will enjoy and I will be grateful for everything that I have, you know, my horses and everything else. And then that just shifted. So it was no longer the white picket fence and that story anymore, but by hook or by crook, I now create a different story. How fantastic is it to think that you can create all these different stories and have all these opportunities to have whatever it is that you'd like to have?
And you reach the apex. So it's funny. You look, I'm going to go into modeling, so maybe I can win this little contest over here. No, we're not going to win a little contest.
Well, I was, hang on, how old was I when I won that? I was 50, well, I'm 56 now, I'm 57. I think I was 50.
I'll post that on the,
I was 55. And the girls that had won that Miss Australia before, so there's Mrs., Ms. and Miss. And it's pretty much unheard of in the pageantry world to win a title.
When did you win this?
In 2023.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an achievement.
Right.
Wow.
So,
Miss Australia International 2023.
And am I your normal typical?
That's manifesting.
I wanted to have the opportunity to represent my country, not just in terms of being an author, a writer, whatever. I mean, obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious to most people, but to win a pageant, you have to be a pretty good public speaker. And you have to be fairly intelligent.
Not just about a pretty face.
Not anymore. You have to have what we call a legacy project, and I'd already had that in play. And I thought they are really complementing me. I do have a few inks. I've hidden them today, but they're under my arm. I'm not a big ink girl. I call them spiritual inks, but there's a time and a place for them, hence they're not all over my body. I'm not judging anyone, but you have to scrub up pretty clean. And I thought I'm going to win this. And the years that I was involved.
You know, I think that also, that attitude of winning, it's infectious.
It's not arrogant.
No, but it's infectious.
It is.
And people see it.
Right.
Not just with their eyes, but they almost feel it.
Right. This process started during COVID.
Oh.
So I'd actually enrolled in 21. And this continued for 2 years. So for 2 years, I'm working behind the scenes. I'm doing all the advocacy work. I'm doing all the fundraising. I'm doing all the things you have to do to win this pageant. So instead of it being a year, it was drawn out by 2 years. In theory, I could have lost my position and not even secured that. Anyway, so I got into the finals and then I went off to Tennessee. So in 2023, flew from Australia to Tennessee. But I'd already been doing these flights 4 times a year for 8 years. So when I planted that seed to go to New York, I was 48, I think. And I have been doing that. Yeah, I have been flying from Australia to America to spend half the year here for my film work, my book work, my speaking and advocacy work for 8 years. So I did. I flew there and won that title and super happy. I think it's complimentary in the fact that for some girls, it gives them a bigger social media following whatsoever, but I already had it. So to me, I didn't see any difference really in that. I didn't enter into it to have, oh, look at me, you know, don't call me an influencer. Call me a mentor, but don't call me an influencer. Right. I find that a little bit insulting. I'm sorry. But for what I'm advocating for and everything else, I want to come across as quite sophisticated.
Well, you were surrounded your whole life with mentors, and now you've become one.
Right. So that was a fabulous thing to win. And now I'm helping other women understand and learn that pageantry is not what pageantry used to be anymore. And the quality of women that you are big on pageantry here in America. We're not so much in Australia. It's kind of a new thing. We've always had Miss Australia and all the rest of it, Miss World and all those things, girls winning finals and going overseas. But it's not as big as here. So for me to be here with that title, I mean, I'd like to think maybe I might go for the Carolina.
There you go.
You know, crowning. We'll see. But I'm pretty busy. But yeah, I find
I was going to say, where do you find the time?
Oh, I can always make time.
Oh.
Yeah, I can always make time.
You got the energy for it.
I definitely have the energy. You know, so the whole thing, isn't it? What are you an advocate for? Are you working in the humanitarians? I find manifesting is better when you're actually giving back to the community and doing things. The universe and the energy is more wants to give you what it is. You know, obviously like I said before, we see people get things, but I don't think it comes with the same sense of achievement. You can't cheat your way there. You can't steal your way there. You can't fake your way there. And I've always said, I'm a bigger, brighter person, and I won't tone myself down to make somebody else feel comfortable. I'll be respectful. I'll support you, but you're not going to dampen me down because I'm too much for you, right? Because we need to be who we are, and we need to be passionate about what it is that we're actually doing, and
authentic passion, authenticity.
Right. And we said before, don't be embarrassed by your past failings or any of this stuff.
Failure is a function of success.
Don't let other people judge you.
Yeah. You have to experience, quote unquote, failure in order to know what the correct path is. And that's where you learn the most.
Right.
You learn the most through failure or adversity. And it's how you come out of those two things. It's the choice you make, the manifesting that you do.
Well, books don't come along in their final form without 5 drafts. Although I am someone who can literally write a book without having to go back and change much.
Really?
For some reason, I can literally sit down on a daily basis, not know where the book's going to go, and take myself there. There's no such thing with me as writer's block. I wish I had more years in my life to never, ever have writer's block. I don't think I have speaking block either.
You're an amazing storyteller, and I mean, we're gonna have to wrap it up. But you have this creative mind,
right? It's
almost unbelievable. The thing you got to write a fiction novel about all the characters in your life. You can write
all the characters in my head. There's so many.
I mean, every single thing you've experienced, you can write.
It's
forever.
endless. It's endless. But there is one more important thing, and I know you want to wrap it up. Let's talk about being brave, right? Not living in fear, and fear is your best friend. And I hear people talking about fear and being brave all the time, but being brave is having self-love. Being brave gives you self-love.
Yeah.
Self-love makes you brave.
Confident in yourself.
Work with each other. And so therefore I've had my fears. I've had PTSD. One of those stories was me being abducted overseas by my mother from Sydney, Australia to England for a whole year without my dad knowing about it, watching him wave, running down the runway. I'm like, I've had my PTSD. I've worked through it. I know how to do it. But I try and teach people or mentor people that fear is your best friend. Without fear, we wouldn't be having achievements. You have to have the fear to have the motivation, because it's like, here's the fear. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit and stagnate where you are? I chose the longest flight for my first flight after not flying for something like 25 years to fly from Sydney to Dallas, 17 and a half hours. I chose that flight to break my fear cycle. I was at the airport, flat on my back, feet up the wall, feeling like I was going to pass out. How many kids did I bring? I think I brought 2 that time. They're checking me in. They're super confident. They're doing all the checking in. Are you okay, Mum? Yeah, I'm great. I'm flat on my back on the floor.
Out of fear of flying?
I got abducted.
No,
I had been left
right.
with that fear. I got on the plane and I was happy days. And I also did the self-hypnosis to talk myself through these things. And there's little things like little points that you can anchor points you can anchor into your hypnosis. I don't know if you've ever looked into hypnosis. There are all these little tricks and things that you can do, the practical things that you can do for them to work on your subconscious mind to get you through fear. But now I actually think, there's the fear. You can get the butterflies and things, but work with it. I mean, some people can't public speak for fear. Great. But if you know you're...
The number one fear out there is public speaking.
Right. But what are you fearful of? Really, at the end of the day, if you trust yourself and you're talking from an honest place with an honest voice, there's nothing to fear. Not everyone's going to like you. No. Not everyone's going to love you. And it really doesn't bloody matter. Right? So that's important if you think. That's awesome. Right.
Well, listen.
Yeah.
This was, we got to do it again.
Yeah, we could chat for hours.
We can. And I'll probably be back in Charleston in 6 months. I come a couple times a year. So when we do, I usually bring my equipment and we'll look you up and see where you're at in 6 months.
And you asked me for my tabs. So it's Empower Us Leeza Cooper or Empower Us Leeza. Everything's Empower Us.
Okay.
And there's no E, it's just an M.
Okay. Mother. We're going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and post it on the video.
And they can find all that at the end. They can find the books or find books in Barnes & Noble. Just Google me. I come up everywhere. My store is an open book.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and put tags.
Yeah.
We'll have you send us everything. But it's already been coming across the video. I'm going to have it all edited in. So definitely look her up. It's a great story, guys. Thank you, Leeza.
And I'm happy to have connected with you. Give me your hands.
All right, cool. Thank you.
You've been listening to Real People, Real Life. Our passion is to have real conversations with real people who've made it. Real people who've made it, who did it on their own terms. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, catch us on Twitter or X at RPRL Podcast and on YouTube at Real People, Real Life Podcast.